Hey friends, this is Mike Adamick, creator and writer of Crime Adjacent, and I'm breaking the fourth wall for a second to share something really cool. I'm doing weekly live stream get-togethers over at our Patreon page, patreon.com/crimeadjacent. It's fun, it's free, it's a weekly gathering of fans of the show, and writers and book lovers and true crime fans. It's just a place to hang out together each week. And again, free. The weekly hangouts are free and welcome to all. Just one rule. Be cool. You've all been great so far in the live comments, in the live events, and the emails, and so I want to keep that warm, welcoming vibe going for all fans of this show. I like what we're building here. But wait, there's more. I've got some great news that I had to share. Our first True Crime College reading group will take place on Wednesday, December 3rd. I assigned a short reading about true crime or profiling or something crime adjacent. I'm sorry, I couldn't help myself. And then we get together to chat about it. And the first reading is, drumroll, The Origins of Modern Sensationalism by historian Dr. Joy Wiltenberg. I love this one. I think anyone who is addicted to true crime like me will love this as well. It's short, sort of dense, and it explains that our cultural love affair with true crime is not a new thing or a creepy thing or a weird thing. It's a human thing. A thing we have utilized for literally centuries to delineate the lines of right and wrong in society. Dr. Wiltenberg says that basically as soon as the printing press was invented in Germany in the 1500s, so too were true crime narratives as a way to impose some type of moral order among the population. Does true crime do that today? Let's talk about it. I'm posting the paper over at our Patreon page today. It should be there already, so that everyone can access it and read it, and then we can get together to discuss it on December 3rd. The first edition of the True Crime College is free. It's open to all who just want to learn a little bit more about true crime or profiling or, my interest, sociology and crime. And don't worry, you don't have to take notes or even read it if you don't want to. I got you. I'll provide a brief recap in the beginning for those who want the details but don't want to feel like this is homework. It's supposed to be fun. And then we can just all talk about it. So head on over to the Patreon page at patreon.com/crimeadjacent for the free weekly live events and to be the first members of the True Crime College. I cannot wait to hang out with y'all. Now, back to the show. Previously on Crime Adjacent. Okay, so where were we? I told you 3 things happened at the same time in Ridgewood on that Saturday night, December 16th, 2023. 1. The rest stop killer abducted Ridgewood City Councilmember Bea Macy from the parking lot of her gym. According to an independent report commissioned by the City Council and witnessed by myself and reporter Winnie Freeman that night, Bea Macy was then transported to yet another parking lot, the one just below the Palmer Housing Development headquarters in the heart of downtown Ridgewood. There, she was dragged out of the killer's car and stomped half to death in a patch of weeds and bushes behind the building. That's exactly where Winnie and I found her, alive, thankfully, but gasping for air. It didn't look good. The second big thing is this. At the gym parking lot, where Bea Macy was abducted, Police Chief Al Williams got a few important phone calls. I know, a lot going on here, but it was madness that night. One call was from Winnie. I was with her. She called 911 and said we had found Bea Macy and that the councilwoman was still alive. Barely. But she needed help, fast. So Chief Williams sent half his forces to the Palmer headquarters. Winnie and I could hear them, the sirens crying over the howling roar of Interstate 80. We could see the lights kaleidoscoping on the freeway below. Police cars, ambulances, media crews, everyone was now rushing to the Palmer headquarters. Well, mostly. Because the third thing that happened involves the other phone call that Chief Williams received while he was at the gym. This wasn't a 911 call, however. It was from a private citizen, someone important enough to have his cell phone, someone important enough to be able to ring up the chief of police at the drop of a hat in the middle of the night. According to the independent report, This call was from Violet Palmer. She said she was at home in the valley and that she needed help right away. She said her husband, Daniel, had been called away for a meeting at the headquarters downtown, but she was home now with her son, Michael. Why a 30-year-old son of millionaires lives at home still, I don't know, but here we are. Violet was positive there was an intruder in her house. She could hear a fight. She was in danger, and so was Michael, and if the chief of police wanted funds to continue flowing into the Police Activities League from the town's wealthiest resident, he better get off his ass and send help now. And so, he did. While Chief Williams and Detective Jones and a few other cops rushed to the Palmer headquarters, Officer Samantha Reynolds was dispatched to the Palmer house out in the valley to take care of whatever Violet Palmer was going on about. Surely, Chief Williams remembers grumbling to himself, it couldn't be as important as arresting, finally, after so many years and too many victims, the rest stop killer. Could it? Here's the story. But first, like I said at the top, be sure to check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/crimeadjacent. That's a place for us, for you and me, and it's free. That includes the weekly live streams where we can dial into the computer together and talk about the show or writing or true crime. I've been loving the questions. If it's Wednesday and you're listening to this, I've probably got a free live session at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/crimeadjacent to join in. From San Francisco, this is Crime Adjacent, the never-ending true crime story told weekly. I'm Chase Patrick. So heads up, this episode dives headfirst into the murk of the human experience and the social contract we make and remake repeatedly, especially when it comes to power and violence and justice, or even vengeance, and who gets to wield it and why, who gets praised or punished, because all of these ideas crash into each other at the very end of this story, beginning right now. It's March 16th, 1984. The Baton Rouge airport hums that day. People checking bags, grabbing coffee, waiting by the arrival gates. But one man isn't there for a flight. He's standing at a payphone, wearing a baseball cap and a red polo shirt. Just one more guy in the airport making a phone call, waiting for a flight as the hustle and bustle of everyday travel buzzes all around him. But, turns out, this isn't an ordinary day. And this is not an ordinary man. The man's name is Leon Gary Plauché, and hidden in the waistband of his pants is a .38 caliber revolver. The whole thing was captured on video. You can see it for yourself online. There are news crews everywhere. Cameras, photographers, reporters. They're filming and following a phalanx of cops who are walking a man in handcuffs through the crowded terminal and out of the airport. The man's name is Jeff Doucette, a 25-year-old karate instructor who was arrested in California and flown back to Baton Rouge that day, accused of grooming and kidnapping and sexually abusing an 11-year-old boy. The boy's father? Gary Plauché, the man at the phone booth, the man with the gun. As soon as the handcuffed man passes the bank of phone booths, you can see on video that Plauché turns. He ignores the cops and the cameras and the flashing pops of so many news crews. Someone shouts. It's hard to make out, but it's too late. Plauché raises his revolver and shoots the man who abducted and abused his son. Point blank, in the head, on live TV. According to the New York Times, the entire country watched in stunned silence as Plauché was arrested on the spot. But what came next surprised everyone. Public sympathy poured in. Good for him, people said. I'd do the same. The man deserves a medal, not a prison sentence. Indeed, although he was caught red-handed at the scene, committing what can only be described as first-degree murder, waiting in wait, Plauché received a suspended sentence of 5 years of probation. The man never served a day in prison. Because like so many Americans after the shooting, the judge agreed. Plauché wasn't a criminal, he was a father. Case closed. Jody Plauché has spoken openly about his experience as a child, and those interviews are available on YouTube. Vigilante murders like this happen all over the place. You've probably, like me, watched the hit TV show Dexter, a serial killer who only kills the bad guys. You might not have heard of the real-world inspiration for the character, however. Pedro Rodrigues Filho from Brazil. Was he an actual cold-blooded serial killer? Or was he a revenge killer, someone intent on spreading his own brand of justice? He killed child molesters in and out of prison, cartel members, rapists, drug traffickers. When his girlfriend was murdered by a gang, he hunted down and murdered each and every one. After his release from prison and a fledgling YouTube career, I guess everyone's on YouTube nowadays, he was eventually hunted down and killed himself by gangs. But people still wonder, was he a killer? Or was he meting out justice that the legal system refused to? That's important to cases like this, the fear of justice being denied. It happened just this year, in fact. In May 2025, in a courthouse in Indiana, 65-year-old Mark Vouter sat quietly in the gallery, watching the trial of Sidoni Pettis unfold. Pettis was accused of causing a car crash that killed two of Vouter's great-grandchildren, including an infant girl. According to People magazine, Vouter had never committed a crime in his life, no record at all. But he couldn't shake the feeling that Pettis was going to walk. So that morning, Vouter strolled into court with a gun hidden under his coat. As Pettis entered the courtroom, Vouter charged. He never made it. Court deputies opened fire and killed him before he could reach the defense table. In the aftermath, prosecutors said the incident was a tragedy, but many understood exactly what Vouter intended to do and why. The man had watched his family die and didn't believe justice would follow. You must know by now where this is headed, where this whole season began, way back in episode 1.
Parles-tu français? Hablas español? Parli italiano? If you've used Babbel, you would. Babbel's conversation-based techniques teaches you useful words and phrases to get you speaking quickly about the things you actually talk about in the real world. With lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts and voiced by real native speakers, Babbel is like having a private tutor in your pocket. Start speaking with Babbel today. Get up to 55% off your Babbel subscription right now at babbel.com/Wondery. Spelled BABBEL.com/Wondery. Rules and restrictions may apply.
That's right. Marianne Bachmeier. That's the German mother who smuggled a Beretta into the courthouse in Lübeck, Germany, and shot the man who had raped and murdered her 7-year-old daughter. The video you can find of this online is actually a reenactment. In real life, the courtroom erupted. Her arrest was immediate, but the fallout was anything but simple. The press dubbed her the Avenging Mother. Public support swelled, just like it would 3 years later for Gary Plauché. Bachmeier was eventually convicted of manslaughter, not murder, and sentenced to 6 years in prison. She served 3. To some, she was reckless. To others, she was a symbol of maternal fury, a woman who did what the courts wouldn't. That's what I want to get at, this convergence of power and justice and race and gender and who the law accounts for and who thinks vigilantism is their best chance at justice. Let's not shy away from the gray areas here and the nuance. Go deep or go home, remember. Marianne Bachmeier was an avenging mother, Gary Plauché a righteous father. Cyntoia Brown, a 16-year-old black sex trafficking victim from a very young age, shot the man who had quite literally purchased her from another man for the rape of a minor. Headlines always say sex, he had sex with her, or underage sex, or something along those lines. But let's be real. She was 16, trafficked, and sold by one man to other men. You're not buying consensual sex in situations like this. I was young myself, I've talked about this. No one trafficked me. And I tell myself now that I was trying to survive, that I knew what I was doing. But again, I was 12 when my parents kicked me out. And all those men. It's probably why I want to be so clear now on the language and what's really happening, because again, the streets aren't consensual legal brothels. These men aren't buying consensual sex in many of these cases. They're buying the opportunity for underage rape, and we need to be clear on that, especially in this country, when it's overlooked or underplayed depending on your political station, or bank account, or movie or music star status. Was Brown called an avenging sex trafficking victim? Did she also get to put on the cloak of American vigilantism to quite literally protect herself from her rapist? I'd kill anyone who did that to my daughter. I hear that a lot, from so many men, so many dads. But when a young black girl does the same thing to her own rapist, what happens? Brown was sentenced to life in prison. A sentence that was, thankfully, commuted after she served far too many years behind bars. I need to be clear about the gray area we're really about to dive into. I need to be clear that I don't have the answers. I could say all violence is bad, that I wouldn't commit these crimes myself, that we are a country of laws and everyone is entitled to due process and a legal defense. But like I asked way back in the beginning, what would you do? Could you do what Marianne did, or Gary, or Pedro, or Santoya? If it was you, or your own child, is that even right? Sociologist Max Weber tells us the state, the country, has the monopoly on legitimate violence, or that which we collectively agree is acceptable violence, violence meted out coldly and bureaucratically through juries or judges or even laws and armies. But what happens when people have no faith in the system anymore? Or when people take violence into their own hands? And what even is violence anyway? And why does some count and not others? Sociologist Johan Goltang has an interesting theory about a triangle of violence. There's direct violence, like person-to-person murder, bad. Then there's structural violence. That's when, say, laws are passed that have violent outcomes. A woman bleeding out in a parking lot of a hospital because doctors can't legally treat her miscarriage. It's dressed up in laws and debates and votes. It's anonymous and polite and socially acceptable, but the outcome is still violence at the end, usually at much larger scales than individual direct violence. Bad still? Okay. Hey, votes are votes. That's what the people want. Then the last point of the triangle is cultural violence, which I take as sort of the lobbying organization for other forms of violence, the debates and speeches and media that make structural violence or even direct violence acceptable and seem perfectly rational. I wanted to touch on all this, not because I have a viewpoint or want you to buy into one. We're free to make up our own minds. But because as someone who works in true crime, I wanted to explore this gray area of who gets to be violent and why and against whom, in what shape or form. Because when I read the independent report about what Adalberto Diaz did that night to Michael Palmer, I'm conflicted. Shouldn't the law step in? Would the law step in? Like I said, in a country of laws, even the worst of us deserve due process. Michael was never arrested, never tried. And yet, what if you feel like the law only serves some, and that justice can be denied depending on money, or race, or gender, or wild structures well beyond your control? What do you do then? There's a whole genre of entertainment based on this notion. John Wick, Nobody, Peppermint, Taken, this very storyline. It seems as if we should have this discussion, especially now, in America. What is violence versus what is self-defense, or even justice, or perhaps vengeance? And why does it call to us, repeatedly, through the ages, from biblical eyes for an eye to today? Why can we say we're all for law and order in one breath and then I'd kill them myself in the next? I don't know. Like I said, I don't have the answers. We can discuss in the Patreon live sessions. I'm honestly here for it. I want to know what you think. But I needed to walk through these sticky issues because they come up so often in this case, repeatedly, in so many ways. It all ends in this murky gray area of, is it justice or is it vengeance, and who gets to decide? First, with Adalberto Diaz in the Palmer house, on the very night he beat Michael Palmer to death with a baseball bat. Here's what happened, and why what happened next is so critically important to the rest stop killer murders. According to the independent report, as well as his recorded confession in an interview with police later that night, Adalberto was up front. He laid out exactly what he did, all for his daughter, Michelle. He was positive Michael Palmer had murdered her, and he would not let the Palmer lawyers help Michael escape justice. He said he decided on the course of action the day before at the press conference on Friday when he saw the Palmer family standing with the cops on stage at City Hall. He knew, deep in his heart, his daughter would never get justice. So he went to the Palmer house. When the coast was clear, he sneaked in. He said he was standing in the hallway of the Palmer house. He could see lights coming from underneath a door at the end of the hallway. That had to be the master bedroom, so he ignored it. There were also lights coming from underneath the bedroom door directly to his right. He could hear muffled music. That was it, Michael's room. Adalberto later told police he didn't care what happened to him. He was only thinking of his daughter, rage burning like an electric fire in his chest. So he reached for the door handle. It was time. He gripped the bat. He raised it above his head, and then he stopped. In the cold calm of the interview room at the police station, Adalberto Diaz said he wasn't having second thoughts about the philosophical implications of the moment, due process versus vengeance or justice. No, he was momentarily concerned about the logistics, not whether to do it, but how. Adalberto suddenly remembered that Michael was a known hunter, someone skilled with knives and guns. Adalberto said he had no idea what was waiting for him behind that door. And so, he did something interesting. Genius if you're looking to kill somebody, I guess. He took out his key ring and held it above the door. Then he let it drop. The keys scratched against the wood on the way down, crying out like nails on a chalkboard before landing with a jangling thump on the floor. An angry shout came from within the door. "Mom!" Again, this dude is 30, living at home, but here we are nevertheless. Adalberto raised the bat. He waited. Another shout. "Mom!" Loud footsteps inside. A huff. "Mom!" The door swung open. Adalberto waited. Then, there it was, just as he planned. Michael's head, juicy and plump. He popped it out of the door just as Adalberto imagined he would, almost horizontal with the rest of his body still inside the bedroom, as if he was popping out to check what was happening in the hallway. The bat came down like an arcing scythe and collided into the soft coconut of the man's skull. Sort of. Adalberto cursed. At the last second, Michael Palmer must have sensed his impending doom and flinched, ever so slightly, just enough. The blow still connected with the man's head, but only enough to force him wobbling back into his room, not enough to kill him on the spot. Violet Palmer opened her own door and saw a man dressed in dark clothing with a bat advancing into her son's room. She immediately dialed Chief Williams, and the police began their race to the scene. There's no way they'd make it in time. Adalberto, now in Michael's room, pummeled the young man, raining blows on the man suspected of killing his daughter. Michael somehow flipped himself across his bed and stumbled for his nightstand. Adalberto saw what he was after. In a glass case on his nightstand, there was a collection of hunting knives, like a miniature display of all his favorites. Big Bowie knives and switchblades and K-bars worn by Marines like myself. Yes, the same kind of knife, the K-bar, used by the Idaho College student killer. Michael pawed at the box, hoping to pull a knife free. He never had time. Adalberto lunged across the bed. He swung the bat again and again, the sound of bone and glass shattering. Michael howled. Adalberto raged. The fight was over in seconds. Adalberto had landed one final square blow to Michael's temple, and Adalberto knew the man was dead immediately. Michael Palmer crumpled to the floor, his arms sweeping off the nightstand and bringing the collection of knives crashing down right next to him. Adalberto said this in his police interview that night. "It was curious. I didn't know what to make of it." He said out of the knife case came tumbling a cascade of silver and browns and bronzes. They were buttons. Dozens of them. Scores. They cascaded out of the case like a waterfall. They bounced across the room, skittering all the way to the door and tinkling against the wooden baseboards. Adalberto saw one land right next to Michael's head. He reached down to examine it, confused. Why buttons in a knife case, he thought to himself, and why so many? Adalberto told Detective Jones this in his interview. It looked like something you'd find on a pair of jeans, and it was bloody, I think, like stained with blood. It said, Jordache. Adalberto said he sat on the bed, watching the last moments of life slip out of Michael Palmer as he waited for police. Officer Samantha Reynolds arrived within minutes. She secured Adalberto Diaz with handcuffs, and then she called Chief Williams. She knew what the buttons meant right away, and she had to phone it in. At long last, they knew who the rest stop killer was, and he had just been bashed to death with a baseball bat by Adalberto Diaz. Next time on Crime Adjacent, how could this be? It didn't add up. How could Michael Palmer be the killer? Remember, at this same exact time, Chief Williams was at the Palmer headquarters downtown. They had discovered a flag pin at the abduction site of Bea Macy at her gym, and everyone knew right away that Daniel Palmer, Michael's father, wore pins just like it all the time. So Chief Williams and Detective Jones raced to the Palmer headquarters downtown to arrest Daniel Palmer. At long last, they finally knew who the rest stop killer was. But in her phone call that night, Officer Reynolds tried to tell Chief Williams that no, he got it all wrong. She had just found the buttons in Michael Palmer's room. She had just found the rest stop killer and was staring at all the evidence scattered on the floor in front of her. It was Michael Palmer, she repeated. I know what you're thinking. I thought the same. So did Chief Williams. Michael Palmer was a child in the 1990s. At the time of the first murders. How could this be? Surely, they've got the wrong guy, right? Remember to check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/crimeadjacent, for free live weekly video sessions and for more information about our first True Crime College on December 3rd. You don't want to miss it. Until next time, this is Chase Patrick from San Francisco with a reminder, stay tuned. You'll never unhear what happens next.